Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Religic Geo channel. Today, we're going to be watching a slightly different video from the videos that I typically watch. I was browsing the internet for something to take a look at, and I stumbled upon this A Possible History channel. I've never heard of this channel. It looks to be a what-if channel that depicts different geopolitical relations if certain things happened, like what if everything went perfect for the United States, the terrible world building of Harry Potter. I guess that okay, never mind. The most cliche alternative history map. What if the Soviets won the Cold War? What if everything went perfect for Bulgaria? So yeah, the video, in fact, we're going to be watching today is what if everything went perfect for India? India. So, possible history here is going to be going over and talking about what if everything went perfect for India. I do enjoy a lot of what ifs, a lot of alternate history situations. It's something I like to look into in the past for my own things. Usually it's, surrounding like what if war scenarios, but um, I'm sure that this would correlate with that as well. Like, what if everything went perfect for India? I'm assuming India became in his video. Everything India becomes like a big superpower. It's all interconnected. It doesn't lose its parts to Afghanistan or Pakistan or Bangladesh. So yeah, I wonder what's up with this channel. uh Sorry, this his gaming channel is called at deleted channel. Is it actually deleted? Oh, it is deleted. He deleted this channel. Okay. Sorry. I couldn't not click on it. I couldn't not click on it. So, I was just hoping to see if he had anything in here that talked about the video. It does not. So I guess we'll just watch the video, and then we'll read some comments afterwards. So without further ado, let's get into it.
India has had a rough modern history. They were colonized by the British for over 2 centuries, in which the subcontinent was exploited, starved, and used to further British interests. Before
True.
colonization, India held about 20% of the world's GDP. Upon independence, this was less than 5. Safe to say, colonization
Wow, just look at it drop, dude. That's wild.
wasn't great for the subcontinent.
Wow. Terrible.
But in 1947, after Indian soldiers had distinguished themselves greatly in both world wars, Britain finally left the subcontinent in a hasty fashion. The region would be divided between Hindu India and Muslim Pakistan, and following independence, these two powers have consistently fought each other, dragging each other down, only benefiting their competitors. This leaves the question for today: what if instead everything went as perfect as realistically possible?
Mega India.
for
Yeah, look, it has all the territory here.
modern India. As the first and most important change, we will not have this subcontinent split happen. Upon independence, the entire Indian subcontinent is one big nation into the Cold War. This does raise the question though, why did they split in the first place? Britain didn't really have the best track record for caring about ethnicity.
What is this? What is this? What is this big? What is this? What?
Or religion while leaving their other colonies. What made India different? Well, the founders of India did indeed fight for a unified subcontinent, but it were the leaders of the Muslims that, perhaps rightfully, fought against this unified state.
Did he just say perhaps rightfully?
Of the Muslims that, perhaps rightfully, fought against this unified state, believing that the interests of the Muslims would be better served in their own state since they would become a minority group within Hindu-dominated India otherwise. So, the British agreed with the Muslims, and the two states of our timeline were born. Upon independence, India became a decentralized state. This makes sense considering that they have 450 different languages.
Yeah.
Hindu may be
I was just gonna
dominant
say yeah.
language,
So
but it's absolutely not universal, and it's not even a majority in the nation. In terms of religion, India right now is
Wait, what did he
already
say?
a majority and maybe the dominant language, but it's absolutely not universal, and it's not even a majority in the nation.
Okay.
In terms of
Hindi?
religion, India right now is already the third largest Muslim nation on earth, with 15% of their population being Muslims. Only
Yeah.
Pakistan and Indonesia have more Muslims than India. Why do I mention all this? To hammer home that India is already one of the most diverse nations on earth. And the addition
It's the one. Yeah, it's true. It's culturally diverse, religiously diverse, linguistically diverse. I, that's what makes it so fascinating.
of Pakistan may be much less catastrophic than one may imagine. India
It should never have broken up to begin with. Personally, like from what I've seen so far, yeah, it should have always stayed as a unified India.
upon its founding, would need to ensure some concessions for the Muslims within it, but due to their decentralized and tolerant nature upon founding, I have no doubt that this alternate India could work. And immediately upon independence, this alternate India gets off to a significantly calmer start. In our timeline, up to 20 million people had to move between the two newly created states, and violence on
What is this an image of? Where is this? What is this?
20 million
What is this? Is this India? No. Is it? Maybe. No.
people had to move between the two newly
Where is this? What is this? I see the borders on the highway here. They look familiar, but huh.
created states, and violence on the local level would cause millions to die. While some of these conflicts would absolutely still happen, they would be far, far less impactful, as within a unified India, there is simply no reason to immediately pack your things and move. But perhaps most crucially, we have removed 4 wars and constant tensions and clashes over Kashmir, a disputed territory between India and Pakistan in our timeline. This rivalry would cause both sides to develop nuclear weapons, and both sides would constantly support dissidents
Oh, you know what? Yeah. I mean the confrontation between Pakistan and India did, escalate their desire for nuclear power. That being said, I still think India would, go and strive to become nuclear, just to combat China, right? China, they would focus all their efforts onto China, and then they wouldn't have the territorial disputes with China even at that point, right?
in the other. India would help Bangladesh to break away from Pakistan after the Pakistanis murdered millions of Bengalis, while Pakistan would support terrorist organizations within India. Over time, Pakistan as a nation became little more than a stick for the Americans and Chinese to keep the Indian tiger down with. Right now, in the modern day,
Okay.
China has practically surrounded the Indians with their own sphere of influence.
What?
Blocking Indian attempts to leverage their coast on the Indian Ocean trade routes by using alternative ports in Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan. So,
Okay.
for all these reasons and more, the announcement of one big Indian dominion in 1947 is massive for Indian power into
I noticed here he doesn't have Sikkim as part of India.
the future. But it was now time for the Indian and Muslim leaders of the subcontinent to come together and actually forge the blueprint for this new state. This would likely entail more autonomy for Muslim-dominated states,
He also has Goa as its own thing. And then what is this down here? I don't know. Is this I don't know what that is.
and explicit
I was gonna say Puducherry, but like that portion of Puducherry is further south right here, isn't it? Or Pondicherry? Pondicherry, Puducherry? I can't remember what it's called.
religious protections and equality. With that, we have a bigger but more decentralized India. How do they move into this new Cold War? Sorry for the quick interruption, but most of you aren't subscribed. To keep up to date with the 2 videos I release every single week, consider doing so, and maybe like and comment too. Thank you.
I subscribe to every channel that I react to.
In our own timeline's Cold War, we have India aligning itself with neither side, and I don't see this changing too much. After centuries of colonization, India needs to figure out who they are as a nation. It may sound obvious, but India is not China, which is a mostly uniform and decentralized state. India needs to nation build, deal with their Muslim and ethnic separatism, squabble with China over border disputes, ensure the return of their final colonial holdings, etc. In this climate, India has more than enough on their plate internally to decisively pick one side of the Cold War over the other. And overall, India's experience during the Cold War is significantly calmer, as they are not being constantly tested by Pakistan. Politically,
Yeah, I wonder would they keep to themselves during the Cold War between the U.S. and the Soviets? Because I guess they wouldn't need the Soviet influence as much, right? Because if they were a unified state, right, the unified country, then you wouldn't have the U.S. coming in to stop Bangladesh from separating from Pakistan. And then if you didn't have the U.S. doing that, then you wouldn't have Russia stopping the U.S. from interfering, and then you wouldn't have that connection between Russia and India, right? Huh. Interesting.
India would develop itself into a strong, democratic state, while economically, the subcontinent is much better off too, as India's neighbors can't siphon off trade as easily, and closer regional integration further boosts their internal development. The specifics are hard to predict, but even if we change nothing else, this alternate India will be much more prosperous. Border conflicts with the Chinese over disputed territories too favor the Indians far more in this timeline, since the Indian-Pakistani conflicts don't take up the focus of the Indian military, meaning that China would have a far harder time pushing them around.
They
But in
wouldn't be
terms
able
of
to.
specifics, India's biggest direct influence on the Cold War would come during the Soviet-Afghan War. The Americans wanted to provide aid to the anti-Soviet elements in the nation, but since Afghanistan is landlocked, this was a difficult task.
Well, yeah, they routed the weaponry through Pakistan, right, to get to the Afghans.
In our own
So
timeline,
if they didn't
the
have
Americans
that,
solved this by providing the weapons and aid to Pakistan first, who would then pass it on to Afghan rebels, choosing to give it to the more radical factions within the nation, leading to the extremist Afghanistan of our timeline. In this alternate timeline, America simply doesn't have this option. India, as a neutral party, simply wouldn't agree, and the only other option, Iran, has fallen out with America after the Iranian Revolution. This means that America supporting the Afghan rebels in any significant way is practically impossible.
well, then the U.S. would just turn towards India to try to support the Afghan rebels, right?
Meaning, the Soviets may just very well manage to win this war, or at least be far more capable
The
in suppressing
Soviets.
the
What
worst
if the Soviets took over? A unified India would mean the Soviets take over Afghanistan.
of the revolt. This is a very crucial change, since the Afghan wars may have been the most significant ones in the modern
Oh
era.
my God.
It showed
Okay. Showing the trade centers. Okay.
and weakened the Soviet Union in an era where they were already stagnating, while setting up some very unsavory groups I'm not allowed to name, which blew up some iconic American architecture on a specific date in September, ensuring America's war on terror and the modern world as we know it. Without Pakistan, it is very possible that this would all be butterflied away. Does
There'd be no Middle East conflict. The U.S. wouldn't have stepped in.
this mean that the Soviets survive? No. Their issues ran way deeper than just Afghanistan, but the post-Soviet world is extremely different to our own. For India, the lack of a war in Afghanistan and the war on terror in general means a much more peaceful neighborhood, allowing India to work on more regional integration programs, many of which fell through due to conflicts in our own timeline. For example, India wanted to construct pipelines to Central Asian gas, but these failed due to Afghani and Pakistani conflicts. For India's international relations, it's also important to remember
I think, just talking about this, with a unified India, what I think would happen is India would actually push back on China taking over Tibet, right? A unified India might actually lead to an earlier India-China conflict with a more emphasis on a free Tibet. A unified India might actually mean there's a free Tibet. Tibet would be a free country.
that they have about 30% of the entire world's Muslim population, which could greatly help Indian relations with the other Muslim states around the world. This could very well facilitate Indian relations with the energy giants of Arabia and the very populous nation of Indonesia. If India plays its cards right, it has a much easier time to build a diplomatic and economic network
I don't,
across the
the colors are there's no tables, so I don't understand the colors very well.
Indian Ocean. Similarly, without Pakistan and Bangladesh, India can take a much more assertive stance in relations with Central Asia and Southeast Asia. It is difficult to overstate how much India has been hurt by being physically encircled by hostile powers. To further boost India's position, they are easily the most
I don't even think it would stop here. I think India would also incorporate potentially Nepal, potentially Bhutan, potentially Sri Lanka, potentially Myanmar. That's Myanmar, right? Yeah. Burma, Myanmar. What's the actual name? I think it's Myanmar now. Um, yeah, I think it would incorporate all of it. Would it not? Hmm.
most populous nation, taking over China's position way sooner than in our own timeline. Does this make India China's equal into the modern day? Unlikely. While India
No, no, no.
is significantly better off, India still has worse geography, a less unified population, a decentralized state and economy, etc. India is
What? No way. What? What?
powerful, but China still has very significant advantages over it. So, to further help India along, I want to change their economic system. In our timeline, the Indians adopted a Soviet-inspired command economy where the government took charge of and subsidized industries which they considered important. But the general consensus is that India only hurt their economy long-term by subsidizing failing businesses. India keeping some aspects nationalized would be fine, but if we tone down India's planned economy, allowing for more economic freedoms, this would absolutely boost India long-term. With these changes, India by the modern day has already eclipsed most of the world's economies, easily becoming the third largest economy.
It would be
behind
the second.
only the
It would 100% be either the second or even potentially the first. If a unified India, yeah, there's no way.
United States and China. On an individual level, the average Indian is absolutely still poor. But the more India's development gets rolling, the more this too will change. And on the world stage, India would become one of the key players in international geopolitics. Right now, India is simply one of many American
Yes, I know. He's using the wrong map. I understand. Listen. I know.
allies in Asia. An important one, but not a massive priority. In this alternate timeline, India is a player all by themselves, a massive hub of global trade. India is a key nation in competition with America, Russia and China for Eurasian influence, likely retaining good relations with both Moscow and
He okay, so he really needs to put a table of contents on because he just keeps shifting colors. He just keeps shifting colors, and I'm not quite understanding what's going on.
Washington, as both consider India too important to alienate. Personally, I would be very optimistic for this alternate India, as India turns itself into a true major power. While India's population is booming, China's population just peaked in 2023, and the coming demographic collapse will likely weigh heavily on them. Apart from that, the Chinese have a paranoid, authoritarian regime only accepted internationally because China is such an economic giant. India, with its responsible democracy, would have a much easier time maintaining relations with anyone they choose. We can expect that the more China's long-term issues come to bite them, the more India can overtake the economic and political role that China has been trying to fill. I wouldn't be surprised if in the next couple of decades, India begins to overtake China, taking its place as the preeminent Asian power. But rather than a repressive dictatorship, it's a tolerant and diverse democracy, leading the way for the rest of the continent. But that's where I'll end this video. Thank you all for watching,
Interesting.
consider leaving a like and a comment to support the content, subscribe for 2 more videos every single week. To continue watching, click on one of the 2 videos on screen now. Again, thank you all for watching, and goodbye.
I don't think I would
During the
necessarily
Soviet
agree with a lot of what he says here. I think it would have a lot larger of a ramification, right? I really do. I think the most significant is a unified India would mean um, a weaker China. A weaker China means that they wouldn't have this whole Tibetan region. I actually truthfully think that India would be able to push back, and Tibet would be its own free country. Um, I think, and yeah, that would put a border between India and China in and of itself, and then they would become, of course, India would become an absolute dominant superpower um, in this entire
The cool
region, right? A unified India means they basically have control of this entire segment of the ocean. They wouldn't. It would be unstoppable. It would be literally a wall between Africa and Middle East to the rest of the eastern half of the world here. There would be a trade supergiant. Everything would have to be routed. They would have absolute control over all of this. Hmm. I just don't know. I think Tibet would be its own free thing, and then if Tibet had that, then Xinjiang, I think it's right up here with the Uyghur Muslims area. I think they would also try to branch off and become their own state as well, their own country as well. Um, and I don't think India would just simply stop at being a unified India. I do think they would potentially take Myanmar or even parts of Afghanistan. Hmm. Interesting. Is all I'm going to say to that. Interesting. Again, I don't think I 100% agree with everything he says. Hmm. 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 Now on a more like India perspective rather than like a surrounding perspective, they would have, absolutely, they would have conflicts between the Muslim religious population and the Hindu relation. But I don't think that it would be to the extreme that it is even today. I think it's a lot more extreme today because of Pakistan and the way Pakistan is. If there was never a Pakistan and there was just a single unified India, people would be a lot more supportive of each other, right? I think there might be some small minor conflicts, but I don't think there would be anything major. Um, and it would just lead forward. And again, I honestly, a unified India would lead to it being it would far surpass China economically. There'd be nothing holding it back. Absolutely nothing holding it back. It would be a world superpower. I mean, it is India is a world superpower, but I meant like it would be like the predominant world superpower. It would be what China is right now, but better. hmm. Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. I don't know. I would have to sit down and actually, because I think there'd be a lot more major ramifications than everything he said within the thing, within the video, the video, the one that I'm watching. I would have to sit down. I would have to sit down. I might do that. I might sit down and write some stuff out and make my own what if video, maybe. I think that's what I got to do. We'll take it step by step. What if? What if what would the world look like with a unified India? Hmm. Okay. Well, I think it's time to read some comments now, right? As a Pakistani, I have to say, Jinnah separating Pakistan from India seems more like an evil plan from the British rather than the separation from the Muslims. I love that on the first slide it says Bulgaria instead of India. The first slide. The first slide. What do you mean first slide? It says India. Oh, right here. I see. History went perfect for Bulgaria. Oh no. Mega India. Oh no. We all make mistakes, man. What can I say? As a Balak, we want to be Indian. Come to India, we welcome you. If you are Indian by heart, then you are totally Indian. If everything went perfect for India, it wouldn't have been under the rule of brutal invaders like the Mughals and the Britishers. Before it had suffered for almost a millennia, it used to be produce 33% of the world's GDP. Yeah. Would you consider making a what if everything went perfect for the Neanderthals? Oh, oh my god. My brain just read Neanderthals when it was Netherlands. Would you consider making a what if everything went perfect for the Netherlands? But you know what? It would be interesting. What if everything went perfect for the Neanderthals, man? Like, what if the Neanderthals, thrived in Europe even longer? It would start 1850, right after the creation of the United Kingdom of the Netherlands. As an Indian, I see this as an absolute win. It's pronounced Hindi. Hindu refers to followers of Hinduism, while Hindi is a language. Oh, did he call it Hindu?
150 different languages. Hindu may be the dominant.
He called it Hindu, not Hindi. Okay. Um, had the partition never happened, 50% of the Indian problems would have been resolved. Yeah, like the vast majority of the problems would have been solved. Lamau, keep a dream. If partition never happened, civil war would have happened. I don't know. I don't think so. Would it have been possible if RSS is not there, but with the rise of communal forces in Hindu and Muslim extremist civil war would have been inevitable? I don't know, man. I don't think it would be so extreme to the point where there would be civil war. A lot of the conflicts happened because of the separation, didn't it? I have an idea. How about we do an opposite series where everything went horribly for a country? Oh God. Oh no. As an Indian, I can assure you that India is not interested in making the US its ally. For India, it's a strategic partner. You guys don't want to be allies with the US? Hmm. But why? Why don't you like the USA that much? And what? See, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. India, like, I'm sure the hesitancy from between India and the U.S. is because the U.S. was helping Pakistan, right? If there was no Pakistan, the U.S. wouldn't be supporting Pakistan. Thus, you would have better relations. Just saying. Unless there's something else in the mix that I'm unaware of. The partition of South Asia was the biggest mistake of humanity. South Asia represents around 25% of all the humanity, and considering it, if it were unified, the subcontinent would be a lot more richer, as you mentioned, but also more peaceful. Much suffering and extreme hatred that the subcontinent is in would have been avoided. For Indians or Pakistanis, seeing this, please stop hating the other. It just divides us further. 70 comments, 70 replies to this comment. Oh man. You're not considering the possibility of civil war between Hindus and Muslims. If United Indian Subcontinent survives for more than 5 years, I would take a drop from Mount Everest. There's no way a country with the same level of diversity as the Indian subcontinent could ever function properly, let alone flourish under democracy. The subcontinent would end up in a far worse situation than it is now. Come on, man, let's be optimistic here. There really is a possibility of flourishing united South Asia. As the creator already said, India holds about 50% of the world's Muslims. I don't see why it won't. Exactly. India even now has a huge Muslim population. It's not just Muslims; they have a huge population of multicultural, multi-religious population as it stands now. Okay. Would you consider making a what if everything went perfect for Mexico? If everything went perfect for Mexico, man, that'd be crazy. Half the United States would be owned by Mexico still. Yeah, that'd be wild. I'm pretty sure India is not called Bulgaria. Everyone caught that. As a Muslim Indian, I see this as an absolute win. Nobody noticing that the text on it's Bulgaria text. Maybe he put that in there on purpose to get the comments. As a person from Bangladesh, I see this as a win. It'd be cool to see a similar video of the history of France after the overthrow of Napoleon. India is not China. Now there Now there's the top-notch analysis I came to your videos for. In all serious, interesting video. India is not China. You're right. Let's take a look at some of the newer comments here. Pray for Bangladesh. West Bengal, Assam, Mizoram, Tripura are part of Bangladesh. Kashmir is part of Pakistan. Andaman is Myanmar. This person's just all about like separating the country, huh? Okay. Now you this with Canada, good old Canada. Wow, so many errors about India in the first 11 seconds. For example, my favorite Asian country, Bulgaria. Cambodia is not communist, it's a monarchy. While setting up some very unsavory groups I'm not allowed to name, which blew up some iconic American architecture on the specific date. Yes, he did say that. Good old 9/11. Brother, your map of India is wrong. We know. He switches between lots of maps, though. You didn't have to show the wrong map anyway in the first minute of the video, especially showing Sikkim as a separate part. Sikkim between Nepal and Bhutan has been part of India and not separate. Yes, I even pointed that out, I guess. India was first colonized by Islamic Turks longer than the British. They were, I mean, yeah, there have been a lot of invaders in India. If you wanted to do what if everything went perfect for India, you'd have to go back really far. Really far. And then just before like all the invasions, and then you'd have what? I don't know how far back you'd have to go. I mean, I guess you can just like pick an arbitrary date, like when like Chandragupta, just say like Chandragupta completely unified all of India, and it stayed unified ever since then, right? Um, okay, a lot of people point out Bulgaria. Wouldn't Nepal join too? Isn't the Nepalese more of like on the Tibetan side? So if like a unified India would push back on China, China wouldn't be able to take Tibet. Tibet would be its own country. Nepal would be unified more with Tibet than it would be with India, would it not? I don't know. Bro speaking facts. What is this? Hello, India. It says, what if. Oh, Bulgaria again. Um, it was not Hindu India. It was and is secular India. Everyone's saying Bulgaria. Everyone's pointing out the Bulgaria and the Hindu instead of Hindi. He made some mistakes, all right. So Pakistan is the problem. Anyways, socialist India would be the best. I don't know about that. British colonizers was not the first worst thing happened to Bharat. In everything perfect for India context, I would say you should start around 700 AD when Muhammad Qasim attacked Sindh and started one of the most brutal, terrifying genocidal invasions of the nation. If that would not have happened, all the worst scenarios had not followed either for Bharat. Yeah, exactly. Huh. Indian's dream at 3 a.m. Still better than your LGBTQ community. What a random, what an absolute random reply. Okay. Okay. Why is South Sudan independent before 2011? Did he have South Sudan as independent? He probably just pulled like a modern day map, to be honest with you. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's the video, everybody. The link to this guy's channel, Possible History, the link to this video will be in the description below. So if you want to take a look at his channel, we might take a look at some of the other stuff in the future. Maybe. It seems interesting. I always like a good alternate reality scenario. YouTube is just not working for me today. I wanted to open up the more so I can see a little bit more on his stuff, but it's just not working. Maybe if I reload the page here. There we go. Okay. Um, He's from the Netherlands. All right. I was hoping to see like a name somewhere. Mm, a history student doing mostly alternate history, new alternate history video every Friday with other history related videos as well. There we go. Okay. All right. Well, with that being said, everybody, I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, and yeah, I'll catch you on the next one, okay? Take care. Goodbye.